In 1811, a man was burned alive for 4 hours in front of 2,000 people in New Orleans. Men, women, children, they all watched. It was legal. It was America. What you're about to see are the 10 worst torture methods ever used on American soil. Methods so brutal, they're now banned worldwide. Number 3 will haunt you. Let's start with number 10. Number 10. The Gibbet Cage. Picture this, an iron cage, just big enough for a human body. You're locked inside, alive, then hung from a pole at the town entrance. No food, no water, just you, the scorching sun, and the cold nights. Death took days, sometimes weeks. This was the Gibbet Cage, used in British and French colonies, especially against pirates and escaped slaves. Your decomposing body stayed in that cage for months as a warning. Port Royal, Jamaica put them right at the harbor entrance. First thing ships saw pulling into port? Dead bodies swinging in iron cages. But that's just number 10. It gets worse. Number 9. Salt in the wounds. You've been whipped. Your back is shredded, bleeding, raw flesh exposed. Now imagine someone rubbing salt directly into those wounds. Not regular salt, sometimes crushed pepper, sometimes turpentine, sometimes boiling brine. This wasn't rare. This was standard punishment for enslaved people across American colonies. The pain lasted weeks, the scars, forever. And here's the sick part. It was designed not to kill you, just to maximize suffering while you healed, so they could do it again. Overseers faced 0 legal consequences. It was protected by law. Think that's brutal? Wait until you see number 5. Number 8. Drawn by horses. Tie each limb to a different horse. Make the horses run in opposite directions. You get torn apart while alive. Used in Spanish and French colonies for high treason and slave rebellion. The most famous case? Tupac Amaru II in Peru, 1781. 4 horses failed to tear him apart, so they just cut his head off instead. But even that's not in the top 3. Keep watching. Number 7. The breaking wheel. In French colonies, Louisiana, Quebec, they had a special execution method, the breaking wheel. You're strapped to a large wooden wheel. The executioner has an iron bar. His job? Break every bone in your body. Not quickly, systematically. First, your legs, then your arms, then your ribs, finally, your skull. But here's what makes it truly horrific. The executioner was trained to break bones at specific angles to maximize pain without causing immediate death. Court sentences would specify the exact number of strikes, sometimes 40 blows before the fatal one. And this happened in public squares. Entire towns gathered to watch. Families brought their children. The wheel was outlawed in France in 1789, but by then, thousands had died on it. But that's only number 7. The top 5 are even darker. Before we continue, you need to know, what's coming next isn't just history. Number 5 was legal in America until 1865. Number 3 happened as recently as 1981. And number 1? Its modern version was used by the US government in 2008. Here's number 6. Number 6, the iron collar. An iron collar. Spikes pointing inward and outward, locked around your neck. You can't sleep lying down. The spikes stab you. You can't hide in the woods. The branches catch on the extensions. You can't hug your family. The collar won't let you get close. Worn for weeks, months, sometimes until you died from infection. Different designs had different purposes. The spider collar with long spikes. The bell collar that rang with every movement, announcing your location. Collars with chains to tether you to posts like an animal. This wasn't rare. Thousands of enslaved people wore these. The psychological torture was the point. They wanted to break your humanity. But if you think that's dehumanizing, number 5 will make you sick. Number 5, branding and mutilation. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. If you were enslaved in America and you ran away for the first time, the legal punishment in many colonies was this. They cut off your ear. Second offense, they slit your nose. Third offense, they cut your Achilles tendon or amputated your foot. This wasn't some rogue plantation owner. This was the law. The Louisiana Code Noir of 1724 explicitly outlined these punishments. But even worse than mutilation was branding. Red-hot iron, your owner's initials, pressed into your skin, often on your face. Why the face? Because if you escaped and made it to freedom, that brand would identify you. You could be re-enslaved based on a scar. Think about that. A permanent mark burned into your face that says, I am property. Not on your shoulder where clothes could hide it, on your face. Some owners avoided facial branding, not for mercy, but because it decreased your sale value. Even in torture, profit was the calculation. These practices were debated in courts, not whether they were wrong, but whether they were effective. Lawmakers discussed mutilation the way we discuss tax policy. This was America, land of the free. But believe it or not, that's still not the worst. The top 4 are waiting. Number 4, impalement. The Spanish conquistadors had a favorite method for indigenous leaders who resisted colonization. Impalement, a sharpened wooden stake, inserted through the rectum, driven through your body until it exits your mouth or shoulder, then planted in the ground, vertically. Your own body weight makes you slide down the stake, slowly. To prolong the agony, they deliberately dull the stake so it wouldn't pierce vital organs immediately. Death could take days, and they display you along roads, villages, visible for weeks. Bartolomé de las Casas, a Spanish priest, documented hundreds of cases in the Caribbean and Central America. He called it what it was: systematic terror. Now we're entering the top 3. This is where it gets truly dark. What you're about to see for number 3, photographic evidence exists. It happened in America during your grandparents' lifetime, and the photos were sold as postcards. This is number 3. Number 3, slow hanging and lynching. Standard hanging breaks your neck. Death is nearly instant. Slow hanging is designed to strangle you, over 15 to 30 minutes. The rope is tied to avoid breaking the neck. You're hoisted slowly. Your body weight cuts off your air supply. You're conscious. You're struggling. You're dying slowly. In the American South, between 1877 and 1950, over 4,000 documented lynchings occurred. That's the documented number. The real number is likely far higher. But lynching wasn't just hanging. It was a spectacle. Torture first, mutilation, sometimes burning, then hanging. And it happened in public. Entire communities gathered. Hundreds, thousands of people. Newspapers advertised lynchings like town fairs. Vendors sold food, lemonade, souvenirs. Photographers took pictures. Those pictures became postcards. Americans mailed them to friends and family with messages like, "This is what we did today." Children attended. Parents brought their kids to watch human beings tortured to death. In 1916, Jesse Washington, a 17-year-old boy, was lynched in Waco, Texas. He was castrated, stabbed, and burned alive in front of 15,000 people. A professional photographer documented everything. Those photos were sold in stores. The mayor was in the crowd, so were city officials. Nobody stopped it. In fact, no one was ever prosecuted. This wasn't the 1700s. This was 1916. The last documented lynching in America? 1981. Michael Donald, Mobile, Alabama. 43 years ago. Some of the people who participated are still alive today. That's number 3. And somehow, there are still 2 methods worse than that. Number 2, burning at the stake. You're tied to a stake. Wood is piled around you, but not dry wood, green wood, wet wood. Why? Because wet wood creates more smoke than flame, more heat without fire, which means you cook, slowly, for hours. Executioners controlled the fire carefully. If you passed out from smoke inhalation, they'd splash water on your face to wake you back up. The torture could last 3 to 4 hours. This was used during colonial wars. By colonists against indigenous people, by indigenous warriors against colonists. It was also used in witch trials and religious executions. The burning typically started at your feet, worked its way up. You'd watch your own body burn. That's number 2, which means there's one method even worse. And you've probably heard of it. Number 1 lasted over 300 years. It created thousands of victims. Every session was documented by clerks who recorded your screams. And a modern version was used by the CIA in 2008. This is the Spanish Inquisition. Number 1. The Spanish Inquisition. From 1569 to the early 1800s, the Spanish Inquisition operated in the Americas, Mexico City, Lima, Cartagena. They had permanent torture chambers with trained executioners. And they didn't just use one method, they used all of them, often in the same session. The rack, stretching your body until joints dislocated and limbs tore off. The toca, waterboarding's ancestor. A cloth over your face, water poured slowly, forced to ingest 6 to 8 liters. The brodequins, boards tightened around your legs, wedges hammered between the boards and your flesh, crushing your bones. The strappado, hands tied behind your back, hoisted by your wrists, weights added to your feet, your shoulders dislocate, permanent arm damage. But here's what makes the Inquisition uniquely horrifying. It was systematic. Every torture session had rules: maximum duration, recovery time between sessions, a physician present to make sure you didn't die during questioning. The goal wasn't death. It was maximum suffering without death. And everything was documented. A clerk sat in the torture chamber recording everything. Your words, your screams, how many times you begged. If you confessed, you weren't freed. You were burned alive in a public ceremony called an auto da fe. 40 documented auto da fe in Mexico City alone, each one involving dozens of victims. The Carvajal family, crypto Jews in Mexico. The entire family was systematically tortured over years. Luis de Carvajal the Younger's trial records still exist. You can read exactly what they did to him, session by session. He was burned alive in 1596. The Inquisition in America officially ended in the 1820s, but its legacy didn't. Remember the toca? The water torture? In 2002, the CIA used waterboarding on detainees. Same technique, same principle. The Spanish Inquisition invented it in the 1400s. We're using it in the 21st century. That's number 1. 10 methods, centuries of suffering, thousands of victims. These weren't committed by monsters. They were committed by normal people who convinced themselves it was justified. The scariest part? It didn't happen in some distant, barbaric past. Number 3 happened 40 years ago. Number 1's descendant was used 20 years ago. Which torture shocked you the most? Drop a number 1 through 10 in the comments. And if you think this history matters, if you think people need to know this, share this video. Understanding this darkness isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about making sure we never go back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.